What's the rudest thing a customer has said or done to you while on a shift? No, you charge these duckers. You give them their bill, wait for payment, and invite them to leave. I owned a small family place, literally 12 tables. Some nights it was steady, some nights the whole place got flat sad. This is the latter. My server is literally a 19-year-old mother working her first job. She's great, personable, hustles, but she can only do so much. She comes in the kitchen a little teary, saying she forgot to refill this guy's coffee, and when she was checking on them, he yelled at her, "You never brought me more coffee, and this food is for crap." You don't like the food, okay? No worries. We can fix that. You don't swear at the staff. Full ducking stop. I grabbed the coffee pot, stopped by the printer, headed to the table, refilled the guy's cup, dropped the check, their plates had just arrived, and told them they were welcome to leave now. Duck you, pay me, and get out. Story 2. Next time, definitely charge him. Maybe autograph it if you have the option. Then, tell him he's not allowed back. The last thing that piece of crap deserves is a free meal. Otherwise, perfectly handled. If you do this long enough, it happens to all of us eventually. Story 3. I had a guy throw a dinner roll at my head once because the food was taking a long time. Everyone called off the lunch shift but me and the manager, and we randomly got super busy. Story 4. Had a longtime customer. I was back of house. She came in damn near every morning, always a difficult order, but I was used to it and knew how to make it the way she'd like. She always tipped the server well, and she and the usual server would laugh and talk all the time, even had each other's phone numbers. One day, the server made a small mistake. Don't even remember what it was. The customer went off calling her all sorts of horrible names. The server came back sobbing, and I went out in a rage. "You can leave," I said. She said, "What?" I didn't stutter. "You can leave. You can have as difficult of an order as you'd like, and I'll gladly cook it for you every morning. But you don't get to make one of my best staff members cry over a small mistake. Pay your bill and leave." She said, "I spend a lot of money here. You'll regret this." I said, "This is a breakfast joint. Your bill is usually about $15. I think we'll be okay. Don't come back." And she didn't come back to that restaurant until I quit. Story 5. I had been serving a gentleman at my corporate bar for years. Got the same meal and drinks every time. Tipped well, was a little deaf, but liked I played along with his borderline creeper vibe. Easy meal. He met a money-grubbing 20 years younger than him. She was cheap and didn't like how pretty I was, assuming. Slowly my tips got lower, which whatever, but also he got ruder. She convinced him I was trying to get his money. They were finishing dinner and I offered him coffee, which he ordered every time. And she made some comment about me trying to upsell him. No, I know what he wants, unlike you. So I get his plate out of the way and he would always say, "You're a great cook." And I'd laugh like it was the first time he said it. She stops him and says, "She's not a great cook. She's not great at anything." Wow, okay. From then on, they got menus and the check from me. F off. Story 6. Headbutted from behind mid-greet on a four-top after cutting someone off at a different table. My manager kept me from hurting him after he ran through the restaurant, and I cut him off by cutting through the line. His wife walked by seconds later as my manager wrapped me in her arms and was consoling me and said, "I apologize for him." I replied, "You better get him the duck out of here before I get to him." I'm glad I didn't reach him, and his wife and kids did not deserve to be around the piece of crap. Story 7. I'm slightly underweight, and I had a customer rudely ask me how much I weighed. I just stared at her in disbelief and walked away. But all of her friends came up to me afterwards and apologized, plus tipped well, so it kind of worked out. Story 8. Not me, but one dude purposely tripped one of our waitresses over telling him she's got a boyfriend. He seemed fine until she walked by him with a lot of plates and stuck his foot out. Story 9. I had an old dude with a skillet ponytail wait until his girlfriend/wife left to use the bathroom. When I went to check on, he asked a stupid question and I didn't know what to say. Honestly, can't remember my response. He grabbed both of my shoulders and shook me and said, "Silly girl." Yeah, I didn't check on them after that. Just dropped the bill and said, "Have a nice night," and had one of my coworkers grab the card and run it. Don't duck and touch me, gross old man. Story 10. Oh man, I had this one woman who just refused to be happy with anything. From the fact that we offered Pepsi, vastly different than Coke, borderline offensive even, to the napkins we used. She'd seen a higher thread counts in Motel 6 sheets, direct quote, to the silverware, felt flimsy in her bare paw of a hand. Nothing pleased this sweatpant-laden queen dining amongst peasants. I dropped her table their food and stopped at a newly seated table to introduce myself and grab their drink order. She'd maybe had a bite, but I doubt it, as I could feel her glaring my direction the entire time, and begins caterwauling. "Excuse me, waitress? How do—" Now I've had e-ducking enough of this entitled donkey. No, there is no excuse for you. This is called interrupting, and it is incredibly rude. You can wait. Your turn. The whole place went silent, and the poor man who just wanted the chance to order a Sierra Mist was frozen. She was appalled at my behavior and tried to get backup from the rest of her party. Gloriously, they left her hanging. I finished taking the table's order I was in the middle of, looked at her, then walked out back. I informed my boss, the owner, that I probably just earned a shout out on Yelp, and he should go assist her further. He came back chuckling and said she only wanted to double check that the scallops were sea scallops, and she felt I'd duped her into bay scallops. She knew the difference. He told her we only had sea scallops, so there was literally 0% chance. No matter what. Even if there was a fire, they were absolutely sea scallops. Ducking. She didn't speak much more for the duration of their visit. Story 11. It's been 2 decades since I waited tables, and I have trouble recalling the worst customers. But we'll never forget the manager who would rub his junk against all the female FOH staff while working the espresso machine. Worst tippers were teachers on Friday afternoon, especially the ones who didn't allow the women and children to talk, make eye contact, or sit intermixed with the men at the table. The head of the clan never tipped, ducking a hole. Story 12. I have a few stories, but the most recent was a musclehead that was loud and kept trying to get in. Word every time I talked to guests and kept interrupting and being an idiot, asking what I was making even if it was pouring a beer. Finally, I turned off the ambient music, walked to the middle of the bar, got everyone's attention, made him stand up beside me and introduce himself, asked him to tell a joke. He couldn't. Asked him why he wanted to be the center of attention. He didn't say anything. Asked him if he had anything of value to add because he wanted the attention and acted like he was the most important person in the room. So now is the time to explain why. He didn't say crap. He sat down and tabbed out and left 10 minutes later. Story 13. A woman accused me of trying to her unborn child. She was pregnant because she claims her shrimp were undercooked. A customer always came in and asked for no tomato crap, bruschetta, on his pasta. Also, he never left a tip. One woman was caught stealing cash tips off my tables. Story 14. One guy's Bud Light was taking too long. I apologized and told him the bartenders were pretty backed up, and he said, "Shut the duck up." My manager caught wind. He told him the same thing. Story 15. I had several tables, including a 7-top last night, and I couldn't read if I put down MR or MW in my book for how a man wanted his steak cooked. I went back and said, "Excuse me, sir, sorry to interrupt, but I can't seem to read one of my notes. Did you want your steak cooked medium rare or medium well?" And this man pauses and then asks, "Are you in college?" I replied that I graduated with a bachelor's, and he asked my field. Seems to understand when I tell him I studied an art field. Jackass. I'm doing well in my field for a recent graduate, but I serve for stability, and because there's nothing wrong with serving. My favorite way to handle those people is just be bright and kind and make them second guess a snarky remark that bounces off me. Other things have been said to me, but this was just last night. Story 16. A lady demanded us to take off our masks because her group was all vaccinated. A man yelled during the brunch rush, "Let's get some biscuits out here now or I'm going to need a manager." Another man during the brunch rush made my coworker cry and then said, "Now that you've had your little breakdown, can you hurry up and get our food?" Story 17. Had some idiot grab that piece of skin where my triceps is and twist because no one had brought him water yet. Closest I've ever come to punching someone in the face on the clock. That crap smarts. Story 18. I had someone snap his fingers at me. I lost my crap. I said, "You can leave." The people nearby told him how rude that was. I kicked him out, asked him to leave. That was the worst. Story 19. A lady went off in front of the restaurant and hotel lobby on me for not coming to check on her table. She said I would not be her server tomorrow. And I didn't even bring her water, even though I had brought her coffee and orange juice. By the way, California at that time had a policy during the drought. Diners have to ask for water if they wanted it. We weren't supposed to automatically put it on their tables, and security rolled the tape back. I went to her table 11 times, even though my section of 14 tables was full and it was a buffet. I was so embarrassed everyone in the restaurant was staring stick still, like her voice echoed in the lobby. I wanted to cry. All I said was, "Yes, ma'am," and got away. Story 20. So I've been serving for almost 7 years now. This is the only thing a guest has said to me and has really affected me to the point to tears. So I'm serving this table man and his wife, and my job has really short sleeve shirts. I have my deceased sister's name tattooed on my right arm, Dominique. The man grabs my arm and says, "What happens when he leaves you?" And I just look at this man in shock and say, that's my sister's name, and she died last year." The horror on his wife's face. He really just went too far, and you never know about people's day-to-day life to just make comments about that. Hurt me pretty bad. I cried in the walk-in. But he seemed upset and left me a $30 tip, so story 21. I had French tourists basically tell me I was fat. The restaurant was one of the nicer places in town, offered a 5-course tasting menu, and all courses were full-size dishes, not tasters, the South, you know. And going into dessert, this couple was kind of complaining about the portion sizes and how things were too big, unhealthy, sweet. I kind of laughed along, as one does for tips, and was like, yeah, I can't finish this much food either. And this MF looks me up and down and says something like, yeah, you could stand to eat the food here, Les. When I tell you I walked away and slapped their check on the table so fast. Story 22. Maybe I just got too desensitized, but I can't think of any single experience where I thought, wow, that was ducking rude. I mean, I'm sure it happened, but beyond thinking someone was an a-hole, I didn't commit it to memory. Water off a duck's back. If someone wants to be a butt, whatever. I've got better crap to focus on. Oh wait, this wasn't as a server, but in a retail environment. My station was slow, so I was cleaning up aisles while keeping an eye on my area. Older couple comes in, and the man starts whistling like he's calling a dog. I intentionally ignored that. He keeps whistling and starts knocking on my counter, and I could fully see him, but there was no ducking way. I was going to respond to that behavior. After a while, 1 minute, his wife walks an aisle over and kindly asks me if anyone is running my desk. And I said, yes, ma'am, of course. How can I help you? We walk back, and her husband is all sorts of demanding, and I just kept deferring to her, asking her questions. And we got through her order quick and easy, and I basically ignored him the whole time. More flies with honey. Story 23. Rudest was some weed-reeking caviar driver, coming in acting like he was too good for everything, being a complete asswipe, and telling me I need to get laid. I was managing the restaurant he was picking up from. Story 24. Group of COS that would come in after shift on Thursday nights for our regular special. It's always 90 minutes before close when they'd get in, and as the regular closer, I always had to take them. Leading up to the incident, I have had this guy dropping slurs while walking around the dining room like retard and got. My daughter's autistic, and at this time the only other server in the bar area, where they never wanted to sit because there are no 6-tops over there, only 4s, is gay as they come. One fateful Thursday, as I'm setting down their plates, he says the word retarded 3 times, and I was wholly disgusted and I couldn't help myself. I set down the last plate and set my tray down on the table next to them, and it went like this. I'm going to need you pick a different word. What? The word retarded is a slur. It's highly offensive. I'm going to need you to pick a different word. I'll try. No, you will. My daughter is autistic, and I will not hear these slurs thrown about my workplace. He just blinked at me and didn't say anything, so I continued with, you know why I'm your server every Thursday? I close this dining room 5 nights a week, and Thursday is always one of those nights. I do not have the power to ask you to leave, but I can refuse to serve you, and that got over there will refuse you just the same. So if you don't choose a different word, every Thursday from here on out, you and your friends will have nowhere to sit, and you can take your food to go and eat in the parking lot in your cars for all I care. Pick a different word. He just nodded. I grabbed my tray and went straight back to the office to tell my manager. I may have just gotten myself in trouble, told her what I said, and she said, well, I didn't hear anything that would get you fired. If they do complain, I can't wait to see what GM has to say to them about it. And that was that. No tips from him ever again. 20% of his usual bill would be $6 to $7. But his 5 friends continued to tip me fat every time, and I never heard him say either slur again. Story 25. Today, a customer's dog bit me in the patio we allow dogs, and they didn't give a duck. Literally said nothing about it. And when I told my manager to kick them out, they acted confused and said I was exaggerating. I also have an 80-pound pit lab and like dogs. The dog jumped out at me from underneath the table when I walked past the table and got me in the back of the leg. Story 26. I've been threatened after they paid on the Zeost. I have your name. I'm going to duck you and your family up. My manager wrote me up because I took my own name off the rotation list. Story 27. Literally had my ass grabbed at a buyout event by the birthday guy's friend, wife in attendance. Runner-up. Guy taking picture of me, without my consent, to send to his buddies. Story 28. I guess it was probably the guy who, after closing out his tab with me, walked up behind me while I was talking to another table and whispered in my ear, sorry about this, before slapping my ass. When security asked him to leave, he actually asked me for his credit card slip back so he could take back the tip he had left me earlier. Story 29. My SO was a manager at Applebee's a few years ago, and the stories he would tell. There was the time when the guy ran into his restaurant from the street and hid in the kitchen because somebody was trying to hurt him. They got him beat and he passed a couple of weeks later, apparently in retaliation because he hurt somebody at a funeral. One adult will come in with like 12 kids when it was kids eat free night. It totally doesn't work that way. To-go orders were always suspiciously incorrect, and he would have to return all their money back, per his boss man, even if they had taken bites out. He has been yelled at, spit on, threatened, called slurs. Finally, he broke down and quit. I had no ideas it was this bad now. It was not this horrible. I feel for the servers out there. Story 30. I brought a to-go order out to a truck full of dudes. I was working front counter at Chick-fil-A. Occasionally, when they parked a customer, we would bring orders out. It was Valentine's Day, One of them asked if I would be his Valentine. And when I said I had a boyfriend, all the guys started calling me a stupid, ugly Karen and told me that they don't want me anyway, story 31. Started my shift and had no tables, so I pick up the phone that's ringing. I used to be a hostess. I proceeded to get screamed at for 9 minutes straight because this Karen's order was wrong. Swearing, insults, intimidation, etc. Even though I didn't do anything, it was all thanks for nothing. Absolute crazy Karen. Story 32, had me junk grabbed, been called a slurs, etc. Best one that sticks in my mind was when as a new supervisor had to go a chat to a table as the girl serving them had had enough of their bullcrap. As I walked over, one invited me to sit down and I refused, to which he insisted in a tone that I can only equate to a headmaster before they kick you out of school. After I sat, it turned into the biggest idiot swinging contest, as they were all very high up in some very prominent chains in London. I spent 15 minutes at least sat there, listening to how this service wouldn't stand in their restaurants, etc. I can't lie, I kept me mouth shut just to get it over with, but I wish I'd come back with some smart crap. Story 33, some hairy-lipped Karen whistled at me and it totally set me off from giving them good service. And then her elderly mom told me it was her birthday. I just couldn't give them the attention. I wish I could have, to that sweet elderly lady, because her ducking awful 50-year-old Karen of a daughter with no manners ducked it all up. Story 34. This last dinner shift, last night or tonight, depending how you see it. A customer asked if I was a vegetarian, no. Then asked if I'm vegan, no. Why? Because I'm thin. I have bad intestines. The table left 25% and made him apologize, which pleasantly surprised me because people are a holes around here. Story 35. I used to work in a club and a super drunk white girl stole my tray from my hand and served her table, and she dropped everything on them, and they asked me to make their drink for free again. And I said, nope, how can you trust a drunk white girl to do my job? They call me slurs and leave a bad review on Google and call me idiot. I'm white and it was a gay club. Story 36. Drunk a hole comes in with his girlfriend. They had just gone skating and she had fallen and really effed up her nose. He comes in first and was like, please don't draw attention to her nose. She's very upset about it. And I said, okay, no worries, I'm not going to mention it. Poor lady, right? She comes in and the first thing out of his mouth is, whoa, what happened to you? And he starts joking about it. She sits there, obviously embarrassed, and tells him to shut up. I'm thinking, dude, WTF did we just talk about? He keeps going on and on about her nose and she just fell silent. I told him I'd give them a few minutes after she broke the silence and asked if they could leave. He's like, no, I'll buy you a drink. She said, okay, we can stay for one drink. I get the drinks for them and come back over and the guy is now moved to roasting me. Are you in school? I say, yes, I'm getting a bachelor's in business administration. He's like, whoa, what kind of idiot gets a degree in business admin? I said, me, I guess. And then he proceeds to tell me he went to this really expensive college and has his master's in a great field, makes 6 figures, and regularly donates to the school. I'm like, that's great, good for you, as I start to walk away. He then moves back to his girlfriend and continues to pick on her about her nose until she's had enough and leaves to go sit in their car. He then orders more drinks saying that she'll be back. We had to cut this guy off to get him to leave, and this poor girl was just sitting in the car with a ducked up nose wanting to go home the entire time. Total douche canoe, egotistical git. I wanted to scream at her, you can do so much better. Story 37. I had recently been promoted to service manager, and 2 of my less experienced servers were the only ones still on the clock. It was less than an hour before close, and the other server was taking a smaller party on her own. It was a party of about 15, mix of adults and children. They were celebrating a birthday, and the birthday girl was clearly smashed, stumbling in and out with her boyfriend to smoke periodically. Kids were loud, making a mess. Adults were loud and obnoxious. I thought everything was going fine with the meal until both my servers came to me crying. They were having trouble splitting the checks because they got their seat numbers all ducked up somehow. They said the people in the party were being very mean to and rude to them. They were cussing at them loudly in the middle of the dining room. I'm like, oh hell no, I will go take care of this. Suddenly they are all standing up as I go over to talk to them. I was told they did not like about half of their entrees and they were ready to go. Several of them started shouting at me to hurry the duck up. The ringleader was a middle-aged woman. I assume some of the kids were hers. She proceeded to fully berate me in front of my servers, and the other party seated quite near their table. The other party are all staring and clearly not enjoying their meal at this point. The ringleader told me I was ducking stupid multiple times, and that if y'all don't get your crap together, we leavin'. Some of the other members of the party quietly tried to pay me, but most of them continued to cuss at me as they walked out. The ducking woman still continued to tell me how ducking stupid I was all the way out the door. I was floored. I honestly could not muster up anything to say in that moment other than, there is no reason to be rude to me when I'm only trying to help. She only continued to yell, you are stupid. on her way out the door. I cried in front of my servers that night. I apologized to them that they had been treated that way and that I did not handle it better. I should have just bought their food and asked them to leave, but they were such a holes. I wanted them to at least pay for the few items that were supposedly up to their standards. Story 38. A customer punched me in the back of the head once. I worked at a well-known seafood chain, Blue Crustacean. This one was located in the South. We attracted rednecks who wanted to feel fancy. I had a 3-table section, an elderly couple in a 2-top and 2 booths. One booth sat a white family, the other sat 2 Puerto Rican sisters, one of whom had twin daughters. The girls were super sweet, coloring and giggling. The white lady turned around and told the other table to keep those ducking brats quiet. This did not go over well. The mother told her to watch her mouth. White lady got up and yelled some crap. Sisters got up and yelled back. A brawl ensued. Even the white kid was yelling slurs. I was trying to get the little girls out of the way and made the mistake of turning my back to the fight. The white lady punched me in the back of the head while yelling more slurs. I'm white, not that it matters, it just made no sense. My manager took the kids, and I joined my co-workers in stopping the fight and restraining the aggressor. The cops came and arrested the white couple. I spent my shift cleaning up clumps of hair and garbage. Oh, and the elderly couple didn't tip me because I allowed a fight to happen. Fun times. Story 39. Oh man, the sister of the owner at a restaurant I worked at. Not only was she insanely rude and had the most obscenely modified orders, and if anything was wrong, she'd sent it back then, complained she couldn't eat at the same time as her friend as the remade it. She also was a nightmare when the check came. She'd insist on getting the employee discount for her whole table. We'd get like monthly emails from her brother, the owner, to only give her friends and family. She would throw a fit if she didn't get the employee discount. The owner also was the nicest guy. I always felt so bad since I'm sure he'd had multiple discussions with her. Story 40. This was just working at a coffee shop, but a dude looked at the menu for like 3 minutes and then looked outside and saw a bus go by and screamed, "You ducking guts," made me miss my bus, and like angrily walked out. He was a regular too, and it turned out he was off of his meds. So it actually wound up being pretty chill with him the next time he came in and explained it. But being called gay because some dude couldn't pick what coffee he wanted was kinda rude. Story 41. I greeted an older gentleman with my name, and the first thing he said to me was, "That's your name? Your parents must love making other people's lives more difficult." My name is hard to spell, but I sure wasn't give him a test at the end of his meal. Story 42. Last week, I had a table of 6. They initially were just ordering some drinks, and I was consistently checking on them, and when I didn't for less than 10 minutes, they asked another server for me because they wanted food. I go over there and they take 5 additional minutes just thinking about what they wanted. After they order, I bring their food, and after this, I keep checking on them, but they keep basically ignoring me. I have to ask at least 3 times each time I was there, and just had to stand there until they decided to respond to me. Within 5 minutes of me going to sit and take a small break, they call out to one of the other servers and tries to order drinks from her. She asks who their server was since we can't put orders in for other people, and they respond with, "The round one." Side note, I am plus size. Their tab ends up being $200 total, and I got a $10 tip from them. Story 43. Serve Satan's brother, who said he didn't want any cilantro on his hibachi steak. I said that's fine, there is no cilantro with it, but it does come with arugula. Is that okay? I don't give a crap, no cilantro. Steak comes out with some arugula on it. Mainly for decoration, not cooked into it or anything, just gently laid on top, but like 5 to 6 pieces. He picked it up and said, "I said no cilantro," and threw it at me. Obviously, I didn't feel anything. It's a leaf, but I was mad. I walked away and he yelled for a new steak. I went back to the table, simply said no, and he called a manager over. I stopped going to the table after that, and the manager finished serving them. Story 44. This was at Macaroni Grill. The side salads are pre-made and have black olives. A woman at one of my tables asked for none on hers, which I rang in. A coworker, Jay, who was running food that day, accidentally grabbed the wrong salad and brought it to the table. Instead of allowing Jay to take it back and bring the right salad, the woman made her pick each and every black olive out of the salad while she watched, fragments included. Poor Jay had to have been doing this for 10 minutes to get them all out. Based on some other comments she made, we have a pretty good idea why the woman did that. But this is just ridiculous. What are some of the nastiest things customers have done to you at your store? Story 1. A few weeks ago, this dude came into the store and he was sweating so much, it looked like he just got out of the shower. He pulled money, not from his pockets, but directly from his shorts. As in, he reached into his shorts to grab money. I can barely tolerate boob money, but sir, I will not accept your junk dollars. Story 2. Customer walked up, said, "Hey, look what I saw on TikTok," and straight up showed me adult film. I slapped him. Otherwise, it's the typical coughing at me, licking their fingers before counting their money or dribbling snot juices everywhere. Story 3. A couple years back, I was with a customer who made a purchase with a coupon, but he didn't want to understand, I think, after 30 minutes of explaining. I was explaining to him that the transaction was correct, and he did get his coupon applied correctly. I even went the extra mile of doing all the math with him when another customer came running over to tell me that a little girl had collapsed and was actively seizing. I was the only one available, not on break in store, and the customer I was helping had been right there to hear it. I told my initial customer, "I'm so sorry, please give me a moment to be right back." I instantly whip out my phone to start calling 911 and go to follow the other customer when I feel a hand on my arm. Register customer is livid. He tells me that I need to finish his transaction first. He is my priority because he got there first. I shook his hand off and told him that a little girl's medical emergency was more important and took off. He later called and complained to my boss that I was extremely unprofessional. Story 4. Just yesterday, this lady handed me her basket of stuff. The way the cash wrap is set up at my job, it's easier to take the basket rather than waiting on the customer to pull everything out. And everything was wet? Granted, I work at Bath and Body Works, so she probably tried a hand soap in the sink, but did she not dry her hands? I could tell she was offended when I immediately used hand sanitizer, but maybe don't hand me wet stuff then. I have also had multiple parents try to hand me things their babies had just been chewing on. Every single time, I give them the fakest smile and say in the most sickly sweet voice, "Let me go grab one more of those to scan for you." Because they're delusional if they think I'm actually going to touch. That also had someone leave actual feces on the toilet of our single private bathroom. I just walked out and told my manager she might want to call someone to clean it because I do not get paid enough to clean that, and neither does she. This was probably the grossest one. I'm sure I have plenty more stories than I can't remember offhand though. Story 5. I wasn't there, but some dude smeared poop all over the bathroom. Walked out holding a clean pair of shorts, not wearing them, and yes, clean because his crap ones were on the floor. Walked out bottom naked. Waited until my coworker noticed him and did a smirk, then went oops and coveted his junk with the clean shorts. 2 little girls were in the store, mouths and eyes wide open. She called the police. He claimed he had some kind of diabetic issue and they let him go, but the way he behaved with wanting her to see made her think it was BS. And she was pissed they did nothing about Sir Poop Smear and Flasher, considering children saw. And IDK guys, does diabetic issues cause you to create finger paint artwork all over the bathroom walls with your crap? I'm seriously asking here, like it wasn't like he shat himself and got it all over trying to clean himself. It's as if he shat himself and decided to use the opportunity to paint the entire bathroom brown. So, story 6. Pre-COVID, I had an older lady coughing incessantly into my face who turned to her friend and apologized. During COVID, an older gentleman pulled down his mask and sneezed over my colleague before replacing his mask. Story 7. I still want to when I think of this one. Working cash in a restaurant. You know the one famous for the checkerboard and rocking chairs on the front porch? We got a busload of senior citizens on a day trip. It seemed like every one of them had some sort of cold. One elderly gentleman just had pouring. We had a box of tissues set out at the end of the registers. I totally ignored them. He blew his nose into his hand holding his cash. This has been 10 plus years and I'm gagging trying to type this. He then handed covered cash to my manager. This manager was a germaphobe. I thought he was gonna faint on the spot. I had an empty candy box from where I had been stocking in front of the registers. I handed him the empty box. He dropped the cash into it instead of the till. I grabbed the man's change, laid it on the counter instead of anywhere near his now dripping hand. He called me rude and wiped his hand across the counter. I would rather clean up smeared through the whole store than deal with story 8. 2 had sex in our fitting room, resulting in semen all over the fitting room. They then used our clothes to wipe themselves up and left the mess. I hate retail. Story 9. A few years ago, I was at the customer service desk. I had an underage cashier at the time, so I had to go scan the alcohol. The lady asked me if she could use the restroom first, so I told her we could suspend the order if she needed to go right then. Then she said, "Never mind." Okay. So I walked around the register to get the beer on her little cart and scanned it. While doing so, I saw why she said, "Never mind." There was a literal pile of crap on my floor. I didn't know what to say. So I finished the transaction because I didn't want to embarrass the customer. She rolled through it and tracked it back to the bathroom and proceeded to get crap everywhere. Floor, toilet seat, sink, etc. Do people do this in their own homes? It was so nasty. The customer waiting behind her saw it too. Obviously, we had to close that line and sanitize everything. She is a regular customer. I still see her often. She is known as Poop Girl. Story 10. Right after opening back up after COVID, one jackass refused to check out with a Hmong cashier and another douche layered on hand sanitizer before going to a different Hmong at the registers. I found out minutes later when I paged that both kids are in the break room crying. Right or wrong, I went to the front end and announced the next customer rude to my team will not be checked out and I will kick them out. Story 11. Not really retail, but I used to work at Chuck E. Cheese, and we had a ticket blaster standing there and paper flies around you. Kid, once puked in it while it was going. Story 12, pumped out too much lotion from a sample bottle, walked up to me mid-convo with another customer, proceeded to wipe excess lotion off on my bare arm without a word. Story 13. When I worked in retail back in the early to mid-2000s, so many stories, but one that really stands out is when a prominent lawyer came in and stood really close to the counter. He took a bottle of multi-sides down from the side display and put it on the counter close to the edge, on his side. He then proceeds to stand on his toes to plop his junk so that it sat just on the counter beside the bottle. His pants were zipped up, but the jeans were fitting enough to allow the junk to sit atop the countertop. He did not break eye contact. I was internally appalled. I then took the same bottle from the display and wrung it through. He was shattered that I didn't grab the bottle beside his junk. I laughed all day thinking about it. I told my co-workers later, and they were just as shocked as I was. Like everyone in town knew him. He must have been going through some kind of midlife crisis, I don't know. Story 14. So I worked at a local mall in the Disney store for a while. They had a group of boomers before they were called boomers. This is early 90s. They would come into the mall in the morning before the mall was opened and walk. So of course it's early in the morning. And for some reason somebody started urinating on our front gate, and then somebody took a dump right in the middle of the front part, right in front of our gate. My manager told me to clean it up and I said no. We ended up calling the mall's custodial service to come do it. I felt so bad for them. It ended up getting the walkers banned from the mall for about 5 years. Story 15. I once had a customer attempt to punch me in the face because I said no to selling them tobacco after I attempted to card them per company policy, and they gave me a photocopy print of an identification that very obviously was not them. Didn't matter, can't accept that. I told them that I could not accept the identification. They argued with me for what felt like 10 minutes and then reached over my counter and attempted to punch me in the face. Story 16. While working at a gas station, one of the taxi drivers who frequently came in to buy coffee and use the toilet apparently had something against me or the company. He decided to take a violently big dump and smear the stuff on every surface in the toilet, as in every single surface was covered in crap, including the ceiling. I knew who had done it. Had video evidence of him entering and exiting, with visible crap stains left on the outside door handle when he leaves. And I still wasn't allowed to ban him. Fun times. Many years later, working at a gym, someone repeatedly or more than one person independently of each other crap in the men's sauna. I have no words to describe the smell and sight of fecal matter that has been brewing at 95 degrees Celsius for hours. I, female, didn't discover these little surprises until after closing, when I would go into the men's changing room to clean up. Also, for some reason, apparently it is a thing to piss in the hand dryers, the ones that blows hot air upwards. Oh. Just remembered, also while in the fitness industry, interrupted two guys being really friendly with each other in the steam bath one night after closing. They apparently were too busy having fun to notice the time of day, not as much disgusting as surprising, for all parties, I guess. Wonder why I don't trust people? Story 17. Spread both fingers in a triangle to swipe along their tongue to count cash to hand to me my God. Coughing into their hand and handing me cash, trying to hand me cash while their hand was literally bleeding. Giving me merchandise for a return that I watched them remove from underneath their shirt, just smashed against their hairy stomach. Story 18. Locking up carts one night, I picked up a water bottle left in the parking lot that was nearly full of what I thought was apple juice. Dear reader, it was not apple juice. And it was still warm. I hate people. Story 19. During COVID, as a cashier at my old job, we had to clean the belts before the next person used it. If a customer comes in and just holds the items to scan, and doesn't use the belt, then I am not required to clean the belt. Now for what happened. A woman came in, and yes, this part matters, but she was African American, wearing what looked like traditional clothes for her culture. A guy went before her and just kept his pop cases in his cart, and I leaned over and scanned them. After he paid and left, the woman stood there for a few minutes and didn't say a word. When I finally told her I was ready after being confused, she reluctantly starts loading her groceries on her belt. I tried making small talk, but she immediately goes off about how I need to treat all people the same, and I should feel bad for doing this to her. At this point, I'm thoroughly confused and just stopped talking and finished her up, and she asked where the manager went. Her conversation with the manager was basically that I'm an idiot and need to be fired immediately. After my boss talked to me and I confirmed, the only thing that I could think of was that I didn't clean the belt, but I had no need to do it, and he confirmed that. He went back to her to tell her I would not be fired and she could have a good day. Proceeds to leave to go to her car and calls the store to demand the person at customer service to make sure I'm fired. Customer service told the woman she could either file a complaint or talk to a manager. After 10 minutes of this, the person at customer service, bless her soul, screamed at this lady over the phone that she needed to either file a complaint or talk to a manager. She says she'll talk to the manager after that, and the same manager she talked to before picks up the phone and just tells her either file a complaint or hang up. Then he said, "Have a good day and goodbye," then hung up. Another friend of mine said a lady matching the exact description did almost the exact same thing to them at an entirely different store, story 20. One time I had a guy calling to ask about bungee cords. He started by saying he wanted some strong enough to hold the weight of a person because he wanted to walk on it. I thought this was a bit weird, but whatever. I told him I'd go look and put him on hold. When I came back, I let him know that none of ours can hold that much weight, as they all have thin metal or plastic hooks and are rated for much lower loads. He took this in a strange direction. Suddenly, he said the real reason he wanted them was for a homemade bondage adult film before asking if I knew anyone who would want to participate in it. Then he kept trying to convince me to be in it as one of the people he wanted to have suspended from the ceiling. Oh thanks, that sounds like a personal hell to me. I put him on hold and walked away. He hung up story 21, had two. One was working at a gas station. Someone went in and destroyed the men's toilet. I mean, there was literal liquid crap all over the toilet, the rim, the floor, everything. I had to clean it up because there was only me in the ducking store. Two worked at a sex store. Ringing customers up, have one of the shift leads come up to me and whisper to me to put gloves on for the next customers, as they were upstairs and the male customer was fingering the woman customer's butthole. That was a fun night. Story 22, I was working at Checkers/Rallies, and this man hobbled up to the walk-up window, obviously drunk, dirty, and reeking of alcohol. Long story short, he pissed on the wall the entire time I was talking his order, then had the gall to hand me cash. Story 23. I worked at a family department store. 1. Used condom left hanging on a hook in the fitting room stall. 2. We thought this guy was stealing women's Nike leggings. Went into the fitting room with them. They did not exit with him. Went in to check if they were in fact missing, but they were piled on the floor covered in his glaze. 3. A woman in an orange wig grabbed some shirts, went into the fitting room, threw them on the floor and pissed on them. Literally walked past the bathroom to get to the fitting room. Proceeded to steal a bunch of crap. Admitted to the stealing, to the pissing. Story 24. Threw a crumpled up ad at me. I yelled at him back and told him I don't have to put up with his behavior, and if he didn't leave, I'm calling the cops. He was like 70 to 80 years old. Story 25. Lady let her like maybe 1-year-old piss all over the floor down about 3 aisles. How did I find out, you ask? I ducking slipped in it. I slipped and fell on my ass. In her crotch, goblins piss puddles. I caught her, handed her paper towels, and told her to clean up her kid's piss and leave the store. She gave me a dirty look because I was pretty rude about it, but took the towels and cleaned it. I told my manager that I was going home and that somebody needed to mop piss up from aisles 12 to 15. He was like, "Wait, what happened?" I just turned around and showed him my now piss-covered jeans. He tried so hard not to laugh and said, "Yep, go home." Story 26. It was at my first job in a restaurant rather than retail, but I'll never forget when one of my poor coworkers had to bus a table that this family changed their baby's diaper on. The eating table in the dining area, not a changing table. They left the dirty diaper on a plate, and if memory serves, they tipped abysmally. So gross. Story 27. Few months into 2020, I got asked to be maintenance to help sanitize the store once corporate finally realized the little virus that could was actually a threat and needed more actions taken in their stores to help stop potential spreads. During one of my first shifts, I hear the call for maintenance and for the frozen breakfast aisle. Coworker comes up to me and says there was an accident. A woman's child pissed himself. I get over there and the kid is jumping around on the pee like it's a goddamn rain puddle. The mom just says sorry as she finally drags the little getaway, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a great year. Later that year, I'm taking my mandated lunch break when over the radio when I hear the call for maintenance, but someone else says he's on lunch. Our poor lead clerk says over the radio, I think someone's dog pooped in the store. Our store has a service pet only policy, but people don't follow it and we don't really enforce it. Only she goes on the radio again a minute later with, I don't think this is dog poop. It isn't. Oh boy. Turns out someone, I'm guessing an older gentleman who just no longer felt anything down there, or just spontaneously loses control of their bowels, was dropping crap throughout the store. Our poor lead clerk cleaned it as best she could, but when I finally came back out, I checked and there was still a faint brown line that you could follow. Down one aisle, near the produce, then turns and down the chip aisle, passes by the bread and down the ice cream aisle. Eventually I went to the exit and looky, small chunks of chocolate left behind, only it wasn't chocolate. One of the worst was one of our handicap carts. Those little auto ones that you sit on and hold the button to go forward was left far from the store in a parking spot. Some massive idiot left a huge full garbage bag in the basket and multiple used pee pads on the seat. You know those pads dogs use for potty training? Well, I know some older people also put those under themselves when they use the carts in case of accidents. But this was like 6 to 8 used pads. Evidence around the cart suggested no. The pads were indeed not used by a dog. There's also the used diapers, holes, leave in shopping carts because human decency is a choice now, apparently, instead of a necessity. The fact one ducking awful woman had the audacity to give me her shopping cart with a used diaper in it before turning to leave, only stopping when I gave out a loud, angry, "Hey," still infuriates me. No, that wasn't in there when you grabbed the cart. Why in the duck would you actually leave that there, thinking that's appropriate? And why do I know wonderful people who have died, and yet people like you are still ducking breathing? Story 28. I used to run a comic shop, and occasionally we'd hold card game tournaments upstairs. I stopped doing it after a while because of the customers. The worst ones were one large lad, early 20s, threw a tantrum because he opened a pack of cards and didn't get the card he wanted. I have no control over this. The worst one, though, was a big, horse-teeth lass who used to drive me crazy. She sat at her table and asked me to come over to clarify some rule for her. I picked up the card she handed me, read the rule, told her the answer, and then she did a huge hacking horse laugh / cough and just gobbed an enormous amount of yellow / green slime all over my hand and arm. She just acted like it hadn't happened while I smiled politely and excused myself for a couple of minutes to bleach my entire arm and try not to throw up. Also, one of my customers, who was the prettiest girl at the game shop and refused to speak in anything except a baby voice, bit another customer hard enough to leave a scar. She'd never met him before and thought she was being cute. Also, had a regular, edgy, late-teen skater guy who used to just play Yu-Gi-Oh cards as fast as he could and then call everyone bro. He liked a bit of attention, and one day his friends came in to tell me that he was laying on the grass verge outside, telling everyone he'd taken too many paracetamols on purpose. His girlfriend at the time, the baby talker, was sitting on his chest, which was very helpful. I was sick of his drama at this point, so I asked his friend how much he'd taken. He'd apparently taken 4. I pretended I didn't know that and called an ambulance, told them he'd overdosed, and they came and carted him away. He didn't pull a stunt like that at my shop again. He eventually got kicked out for good anyway, because he tried to cop a feel. I was 10 years older than him, mind you, and completely uninterested at work and the boss. I'd always wanted to run a comic shop. Turns out, it was horrible. Story 29. Peed in the fitting rooms. Peeled off the sanitary strip when trying on swimsuits and stuck them anywhere they liked. Apparently pooped in their hand and applied it to the outside of the toilet. Once I had to clean up vomit in the restroom in a puddle on the floor. Oh no, they must have projectile vomited and entirely missed the toilet. It was all over the corner of the restroom, both walls and the floor. Not only that, but it was dry, so they didn't tell anyone. Another one was when I and another employee were in the car on the way to make a bank deposit and watched a grown man drop, trow, squat, and poop in front of Toys R Us. Both our store and the toy store had bathrooms. Returned ancient, worn, saggy, baggy, granny panty underwear. This was at a store that had a ridiculously liberal return policy. Made the return and held them up high in front of her and other customers, cut them up, and threw them away. Customers are disgusting. Story 30. Sometimes homeless people will steal clean underwear by taking them into the changing room and then leave their dirty underwear on the floor. Never mind that we're a thrift store that funds the local food bank, where you can get vouchers for free underwear plus socks and other necessities. Nah, just ducking to take them and leave your old nasty ones in the changing room. Why the hell not? But the worst was recently, when someone apparently decided to change their pad in there and left the used pad in the changing room. Luckily, I'd already perfected my dog poop style, inside-out plastic bag technique, so I never have to directly touch anything nasty when this kind of thing happens, but come on, there's a ducking bathroom down the goddamn hallway. You seriously couldn't change your ducking pad in the bathroom like a normal human being? Story 31. Used to work at an old boutique clothing store. Super cute buildings, but with really old bathroom pipes. We had a restroom that was just for employees, but you couldn't poop in the toilets. We would go to the coffee shop across the street if we needed to, or else the sewage could back up and flood the store, and it's happened before there. Anyway, one day a customer comes in really needing to use the bathroom, so we let her back. Because what could a grown-ass woman do, right? Well, she sees the 3 or 4 signs that say, "Don't crap in the toilet," and decided to fully crap in the tiny trash can, leaving it there for my manager to take out. So nasty story 32. Probably not the nastiest, but a lady pulled out her credit card from inside her shirt, middle of a heat wave, and handed me her sticky wet card. Also, the time I had to clean the men's room, the door's super close to the toilet, so when you walk in, you're right at the toilet. I opened the door, walked in without looking down, and there was a whole puddle of piss I had stepped in that flooded the whole area in front of the toilet. The smell of piss swirled around the room. I don't think this was one man. Just a flock of men, all taking turns pissing on the floor for some reason. Story 33. I was working apparel at Walmart. This customer had checked himself out of the hospital. He stripped off in the fitting room all of his bloody, nasty bandages and asked us to get him some basic clothing in his size. Changed out of his nasty, smelly clothes to put on the new one. I wound up helping him get some groceries just to get him away from my poor coworkers. They cleaned everything he was by. I finished with him and I took the foul garbage and dumped it. We spent over 24 hours getting rid of the smells and stains. Story 34. A customer came up to me and said there was a guy in the bathroom, one of those private accessible ones, who hadn't locked the door. It seemed like a weird thing to complain about, but I was about to go clean them anyway, so I went over to guard the door for him. When I got there, the guy pressed the button to open the door so everyone could watch him take a dump, on purpose. So I ended up holding the door closed for 20 minutes to keep this dude from continuing his performance. I don't know if he was on substances or just getting off from that, but what the heck? Story 35. Homeless bum tries to buy alcohol but didn't have enough, so no sale. He goes out to our ice machine. He's acting weird around it until one of our employees confronts him. He was pissing on our ice machine. We chase him off and tell him don't come back ever. He's tried several times and I still turn him away. But I got the money. I don't care you pissed on our ice machine. So we don't want you here. Story 36. Got two from when I worked in customer-facing retail. One, I lived in a high Amish area, and they were either super polite or super rude. I once had an Amish lady in the checkout just stand there as she crap herself and it fell to the floor. Two, someone took a rotisserie chicken into the restroom, shoved it in the toilet, and then defecated on it. It caused the whole restroom to flood. Story 37. I was a customer in a JCPenney a long time ago. As I was leaving the fitting room, I heard someone start to pee. I rushed to tell a clerk. Sadly, it didn't faze them. It's been going on for a very long time. Story 38. Forced me to help her when I was very obviously closed, accused me of hiding product from her, and ordered a similar replacement begrudgingly, then left it and walked away. Story 39. I remember nasty idiots who would lick their fingers before handing you cash. I would slowly grab the opposite end with a grimace. I could care less if they saw. That's crap's nasty. Story 40. During the height of COVID, I had a customer pull their mask down and openly sneeze all over a bread display we had in the store, and then put their mask back on after the sneeze. Story 41. Someone crap on the toilet, beside the wall, crumpled used toilet paper under the toilet. We had to take the trash can out of the men's room because they kept crafting in it. Story 42. I know this is probably pretty common, but I always hated when women would pull sweaty, nasty money out of their bra. I wish I could have refused to take it. Story 43. Clothing store employee here. 1. During COVID mask, Mad 8. Customer standing opposite me feels sneeze coming on, and right as he sneezes, he pulls down his mask and sneezes straight into my face. No apology. 2. Apparently took off his pants, pooped in them, folded everything up, and stole a new pair of pants from us. 3. Pissed on the cushion in the fitting room. Like so much it was fully saturated and dripping down onto the floor. 4. Period blood in pants. It happens so many times I've lost count. 5. Semen on clothing. 6. Used pads stuck to carpeted fitting room wall. 7. Not the most disgusting, but still weird. Breast milk. Customer was trying on pants and decided to breastfeed her baby while still wearing them. Got breast milk on them. Story 44. Had a person crap in front of the windows. Another left open pads on the ground, not in the empty trash can they tossed them next to. Same with diapers left on the floor. Had someone recently use our restrooms and left crap blasted on all sides of the toilet and all over the underside of the seat. To their credit on that one, they at least seemed to try and clean up, but then left a bag full of crap and toilet paper on the floor. Whole restroom. No matter how much bleach I sprayed, could not get rid of the smell of ass. Worst one was a dude we called the cops on previously at my old job. Get pissed off about that. He was pulling car door handles and kept lurking around employees' cars. He smeared crap along the entire backside of our building in the middle of July in a heat wave. Story 45. Had a woman come in with a large handbag that was obviously trying to steal from us. We closely surveilled her, putting her handbag down under the clothing racks and dropping clothes off the hangers on top of her handbag and onto the floor. The last rack she visited was a jacket rack. She didn't try to steal anything from it. Instead, we saw her stuff something from out of her bag into a jacket pocket. After she was gone, we checked all the racks she visited, and every empty hanger we found had a matching piece of clothing on the floor. So she had left empty-handed. The jacket she had stuffed something into? That something in the jacket pocket was a dried, bloody tampon. Retail workers? Has the job made you more rude or bitter? Story 1. My coworkers often describe me as a nice rude. I tell people the honest truth, but while smiling and saying it the nicest way possible. It's not my fault people double my age don't understand concepts like sales tax, refunds, and basic math. Story 2. I used to manage retail, and we would hire high schoolers for cashiers. The customers were brutal to them, so we had a meeting where I taught them the Karen Arts 101. They were resistant at first, but by the end of the year, the customers knew what they could or couldn't get away with them. I think teaching them to protect their peace and power helped them in other life aspects as well. Story 3. Yup, that's why I escaped retail the first chance I got. I could feel myself starting to hate people and assuming the worst of everyone even when not at work. It wears you down when 9/10 of your daily interactions with other people are negative. I took a slight pay cut when I came to my current office job, but it's beyond worth it for me to now have weekends/holidays off with my family and not have to worry about being berated by strangers at work on a daily basis. Story 4. I think it's a general reaction. I'm quiet and shy naturally, so working with the public has toughened me up just a bit. I mean, some customers are just going to be rude, and you have to learn how to not be a pushover. That's something I'm still working on, even after 8 years. Sometimes you have to give them the same energy they give you. I'm not saying be overtly rude, but give them a slight bit of attitude back. It can be a soul-crushing career field because you do often see the worst of humanity. However, sometimes you also see glimmers of the best. Story 5. I'm the opposite. When I worked retail, it was just a cheerful, happy experience. Ever since I transitioned into working at the hospital, I noticed my mental health has taken a little bit of a deep dive, especially when it comes interacting with my family. I've just been so quiet around them, but around other people, out in public, I'm just fine, but not overly too crazy as a person. I still live a happy life with smiles and positive attitudes, but there are just days that I just feel sad. Story 6. I perfected icy polite. Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. Certainly, sir. Will there be anything else, sir? Thank you for shopping at insert hellhole here, sir. Have a good evening, sir. The last part yelled after them in the same deadpan, frozen, bitterly polite, obviously false in the way of cheerleader's tone, but chipper and word perfect, voice you have been using from the moment they deserved it. As they scurry out into the night like vermin. What? They're going to complain that I told them to have a nice day in a cheerful voice? Elevate rudeness within the rules to an art form. It will do your soul a world of good. That, and done well, it's fun for both you and the spectators. Story 7. I worked for a lot of different companies in my working career. I am currently working for a supermarket chain, and the level of holes that grace the place is incredible. I was always so polite, never raised my voice, never argumentative, always found a solution. Now, I match energy for energy. If they are rude, they get no consideration from me, and I won't help them. I will raise my voice, won't hear them out, and if they swear, I just walk all the way, or hang up. I never copped this kind of crap when I worked for a health fund. I swear since COVID, the audacity of people is tenfold. Story 8. Yeah, I worked many years in car rental and have seen the shyest of people whom if you walked past, you would never expect and been in the most stressful of prolonged situation. You start off knowing someone is going to duck your day and someone is going to have their day ducked. Often there was no other option but to cut them down there, and then there was no time for an argument to be drawn out. This led to sometimes being too dry for people that didn't deserve it too. Day after day, year after year of such toxic battles ground me down, and I would get after work burn out. It wasn't healthy having crap repeat in your head when you have left many hours ago. I stopped working in the sector 6 or so years ago and cannot work in that job again. I wouldn't even last a day, I would be allergic to it. Find a job that doesn't need you to raise your guard so often. Story 9. You might be experiencing job burnout. I for sure had this for a while, and I felt the same as you. I'm a nice person, but it takes a toll having to be on all the time, especially when you aren't in that headspace. It's easy to resent that as an expectation as well. The burnout is real. That may be why you are feeling such a disconnect. Maybe look into it. I also agree with the others that the environment is a big factor. I had a very controlling manager, and once she and this other toxic employee left, it made for a much more pleasant workday. The sad thing is that she, the manager, passed away. She worked 2 jobs, pushed through reoccurring pain, and by the time she got admitted to a hospital, she was too sick to leave. It's really sad that it worked out that way. She was in her early 60s and very active, but it all happened very quickly and went downhill fast. I'd never wished that on anyone. Felt so bad for her family. It's been 2 years. I know we all need money to exist, but it really made me see that working yourself so hard is not worth the toll it takes on your mental and physical health. I wish she would have allowed herself to ease off a little and not have to drive herself so hard. I know she needed the money, but she sacrificed her health to work a full-time job elsewhere, paid more and had benefits, while staying on and putting in hours at our shop when the owner had her own health issues going on. It's admirable that she had loyalty to our boss, but she also had the right to prioritize herself. I also used to see a nice FedEx guy who was on the older side. He would stop and sometimes mention how much they were pushed to go, go, go and expected to perform more than was reasonably possible. One day, a younger guy came in instead, and I said, "Where's our regular driver?" Well, he had had a heart attack and died. It made me mad for him. What was the point of him being miserable and busting his ass, all to fulfill someone else's business goals? I wish he could have spent that time doing something that made him happy and feel valued. We all should, and it sucks when those are our circumstances and we aren't in a position to change that. Retail is rough. I hope things brighten up for you in the future. You deserve to be happy. Story 10. I don't know about rude, probably sometimes, but it made me apologize way too much often for things that were the fault of the person I'm apologizing to. In retail, it's just easier, but in everyday life, it's a bit strange and disingenuous, not to mention that some people think they can take advantage of you. It's taken me quite a while to get to the point where "I'm sorry" isn't the default response to anything going wrong. Story 11. I've owned small shops in 3 different locations. I didn't mind retail and actually enjoyed it until I relocated to the town I now live in. We have a huge population of retirees here, and by the end of the day, I just feel like I have been babysitting toddlers all day. Actually, not even toddlers, because toddlers are capable of learning new things. Hey Gramps, you use that same debit machine every day to buy your newspaper and lotto ticket. Don't you think you could do it by yourself without me nursing you through it by now? You order the same lotto package every 2 days and you still can't ask for it by name. You have to demand that $10 thing and expect my staff to figure it out for you. I have become bitter and rude for this reason. Story 12. I'm autistic and works retail forever. I took a break and became a vendor, so I only had to deal with management, but that still drains you. Like your face hurts from forcing the smile. Half my vocabulary is just set responses. I even do it to family and friends. They'll say crap without even thinking I am, and won't even register what people have said. I know I don't need to, but the minute I wake up, I'd feel like my service mask is on. I've wondered who the heck I was at a bad burnout period. Retail sucks. Story 13. Yes, I noticed I started to have a short temper with everyone around me. I get annoyed by other people just being near me sometimes. My default when a customer tries to get my attention is defense. When they just ask me a simple question or say something nicely, I feel my entire body relax. My faith in humanity has also severely dwindled since starting this job a year ago. Story 14. Years of retail and customer-facing positions broke my GAF. I used to be able to swallow my feelings and be nice to everyone. At my last job, something broke, and I told a nasty customer to, in much more graphic language, to choke upon my lower anatomy. Now I work in a warehouse, and I don't have to speak to anyone, and I love it. Story 15. I say things how they are, and can be very mean to lazy customers, strange enough. Nobody get mad. I do love my John, but people who don't shop by their self or read discount good is so annoying. Story 16. Ask yourself one question. Do you find yourself being rude because of working in retail so long, or could it be because of the bosses and or other employees you've worked with? I personally love working in retail. It's my bosses that I have issues with. If the work environment you're in is crappy, then your mood and your personality will be the same. Story 17. I worked for 1 year of retail returns when I was 18. That job taught me more than any other job. I can read people. I know when people are lying to my face. I learned how to tell people no, how to stay calm when people are screaming at me. Every other job since then has been a walk in the park. I give 0 ducks and take no crap. I was a sweet kid when I started there. Story 18. Yes, been in retail for too long, 15 years. I hate it. I used to love Christmas, but retail has ruined that for me, especially when I worked at Dollar Tree. It made it worse. I get in trouble for showing my pissed off emotion, but I can't get anything else. I've tried to get back into office work and I'm never given a chance. Story 19. I luckily only worked retail 2 summers before I had enough and noped right on out there. Been working in warehousing ever since away from customers. Story 20. Yes, plus I had terrible anxiety and couldn't deal with people. After 30 divided by years, I got out and do something completely different now. Never happier. Story 21. I have been told that I have an RBF, but as OP said, with the years, retail changes you. Now, just because sometimes we come off as rude doesn't mean we're not a good person. You have to understand that all that has to do with being pressured to take everything, even by being treated like crap and let people talk you down and force you to give them the discounts. Customer is always right. No, that's not true. They're not right to treat us badly. Also, managers take customers' side, and I got write-ups. My head clerk told another head clerk I have a horrible resting bee face. I know because I'm friends with one of them. Managers should talk like that about employees, and I had that face because of that manager that said I had that face. She's the schedule writer, and she didn't call me to pick my schedule. She skips me and calls other employees who have less seniority than me and gives them the times I should have gotten, and I'm always stuck closing. Story 22. Totally agree. Retail and most, if not all, customer service jobs do change people. It really does open your eyes when you see the other side. I used to be very timid and shy, but now, after a lot of verbal, mental, and emotional abuse, multiple managers and leads throughout my retail career, I speak up more for myself and my coworkers and set boundaries at work rather than let people walk all over me. So I would say that I detest people more as an introverted person would simply after having to pretend to be a people person for 8 hours a day. Guess that would make me somewhat bitter. Story 23. I'm 19, been working in retail since 16, and I've just had enough. I pray no customers come, but as soon as they do, it ruins my mood and I give everyone an attitude. Because I know there's going to be those few people who decide to make fun of you while you're working and they have the day off or they already left work, etc. Story 24. I'm extremely irritable and short-tempered. I left a non-retail job because I couldn't deal with the neediness of my coworkers. I'm back in retail, but I work in a department where I have very little customer interaction, but even very small requests tend to irk me. Story 25. Retail has taught me how to set clear boundaries with others, be more patient than I thought was possible, and determine when a conversation with a customer has run its course. Retail is definitely not for people pleasers. Story 26. Not rude and bitter, but I'm more forgetful now. It's like someone turned off my short-term memory and I forget crap every day. But I've been at Walmart for well over 9 years and upper management for a better half of 6. Story 27. I worked at Sporting Goods for under a year. I was the hardest worker, which I shouldn't have worked that hard considering the pay and how horrible I was treated, and went out of my way to be kind. What I learned is in those types of working environments, if you're a hard worker, your boss will treat you like crap and treat you like a doormat, and some coworkers try to use you. The customers are Karens who are unkind human beings for the most part, except a kind few. I'm also white, but that was the first time I experienced racism toward me to my face from my coworkers who were Hispanic women around my age. I'm in my 20s. I had done nothing but be kind to my coworkers, but this clique of girls said horrible things about me while I was standing close by regarding my skin color, etc. Luckily, there was 2 people who worked there who were nice, so we made small talk. I reached my breaking point where it started to all really depress me one day, and I wasn't working as hard as usual, and my boss came up to me and verbally abused me at the top of her lungs in front of customers. I was shocked because it was so unwarranted, and I started sobbing and said I quit. She called me 2 days later, leaving a voice message asking when I was coming back in and to pick up another shift. Unbelievable. I reported to her and what she did and said to me that day to HR. Anyway, I had avoided that Sporting Goods like the plague because it traumatized me. But 2 months ago, I went into that unexpectedly because I needed to get a sweatshirt for a trip I'd planned the next morning. And with me, I had the Gucci bag I take everywhere now as my main purse that I bought with my money I made from the success I've had being self-employed at my business I now own. In passing, I saw 2 of the girls who bullied me with very displeased/snarky faces in the store that day, past coworkers. It wasn't my intention to be any sort of show-off because I find that distasteful, but people with dark energy will always be irritated by your lights. So, moral of the story, be a good and kind person, and good will come to you, or don't. Story 28. Yes, absolutely. I can't stand people. I'm at the point now where I hate all of them, just for walking into the store. I know that's not fair, but I'm just disgusted with the way people treat the store. The middle-aged ladies always leaving the hot water faucet running in the bathroom because they are too good to turn the faucet off, yet they open the door to get out. I'm sick of people putting things back where they don't go. And I'm not talking about when you don't want to walk across the store. I mean, they take it from the top shelf and throw it on the floor when they are done. Or they put it back on the base deck on the 3rd shelf or somewhere else, completely. It takes no effort to put it back where you just got it. Then I'm actually sick and tired of people being so lazy. You took it off the shelf. You need to go put it back. Go-backs are out of control. It's as of every single person just leaves random things in every aisle as they walk through. Hundreds daily. Everyone thinks it's no big deal, and that's why, because everyone thinks that, so they all do it. Same with the carts. You people aren't helpless. You got the cart fine, put it back. They leave their garbage all over the store too, and in the carts as if that's an acceptable thing to do. You know what the worst part is? It's not even the homeless people in doing it. It's the average customer. The entitlement they feel is just weird. Never in my life have I ever gone to a store and just trashed it like they do. And they are always getting so close to me. There's no reason for you to stand 2 inches from me. Get away. Then their attitudes. I don't understand why everyone is a garbage person. Stop being so lazy and pick up after yourself and put things back where you got them. It's really not hard. We don't need the extra job security. They make it impossible to get what we actually need to get done. I'm so disgusted, I'm honestly at a loss. Story 29. After just recently leaving my retail job, I can definitely say this. Yes, it changes you. Retail always will. But how fast and how hard depend on the work environment. For most of my job, I think I held up pretty well. I had coworkers who were in it together with me, and we kept our store running. It was big, but not huge, so it wasn't like dozens of people at a time, so it's easy to bond with each other. As a result, I could give customers the attention they needed, and even with bad interactions, the team understood and we could laugh it off. Then the layoffs happened, and we bled the most competent members of the team. Suddenly, in a month or two, we were left with a team made of new hires, ranging from competent to hired on Monday and left on Tuesday, limited availability veterans, and me and my manager. Then corporate decided that we should focus on filling online orders while cutting hours. Now my day is filled with having to explain why orders are being canceled, delayed, etc., with long lines of customers while trying to fill hundreds of orders instead of filling the shelves or recovery. So I won't lie, I come off as rude or unhelpful. I don't want to be, and I think our customers deserve better. But if a Canadian customer decides to argue because she threw her coupon and her return is now $1 less, or a white guy with dreads decides I hate my customers when I tell him we don't have the resin kit he wants, and we can't find it under the giant pile of product we have, or a woman walks off in a huff because nobody on staff knows anything about yarn. Why would someone paid minimum wage be trained to know every possible craft a store has? I think it's all anyone can do to survive it. When there's staff available and things are okay, we can afford being nice. When things are going rough and there's not enough people and the customer complains about some unreasonable demands they're making of us. Story 30. I'm a second-class citizen, and the general public lets me know at every chance it gets with every subtlety in how I'm treated. If it's not rudeness, it's the weird ones that want to protect you or hate that you're treated the way you are. They don't care. They just want to look good. It's entirely selfish, and it's almost worse than the rude ones because it forces an emotional labor out of you to thank them. Because if you don't, it turns real bad real fast, just proving them to be no better than anyone else after all. My job is constantly on the line because of how I'm publicly perceived. So either I play nice with these people, or I'm suddenly undeserving of shelter. People who aren't working retail love to pretend they can relate, that it's bad everywhere. But how was your last doc visit? How are your teeth? How well do you sleep at night before your next shift? How scared of text messages are you because you know you might end up stuck coming in on your day off? How are your weekend? How does your savings account look? I feel stained by it, if I'm being honest with you. I feel like even having a degree at this point is worthless because I come from a place my betters would rather I remain in. I feel as though retail has killed me and I'm just parading around a body until it finally stops. Some days it's bearable. Others, I desperately feel the need to apologize to my coworkers that I wasn't at my best emotionally, and the terrifying thing is that none of them ever notice, because none of us have time to notice. Get help? Seek professional help? With what money? That's a privilege I'm not afforded. If you genuinely thought that was an option, you really have no clue how bad it actually is out there. We punch sideways on each other to prevent these feelings. We say, "It's not that bad, man up," to ourselves and each other out of shame. I don't bother anymore. I hate it. Story 31. While I'd say I became a bit more jaded and sadder, I think I actually became more compassionate towards others. Not to the awful customers, of course. No, it was to the children that these nightmare parents would drag along. You'd think working at Build-A-Bear would be a hell filled with screaming, demanding kids. While they can and did get rowdy, even the most ill-behaved of them made me feel pity because it was literally always the parents' fault. Within the less than 5 minutes you get from the front of the line to leaving with the finished plush, I've not only read your family dynamics, but the specific flavor of dysfunctional you are and what you actually think of your kid. Lots of clinically narcissistic parents think their kids should grovel at their feet in gratitude when, really, they've dragged them into this store full of loud noises and a big scary stuffing machine and too many choices and bright lights. Then they say, "Look, that worker thinks you're being an embarrassing brat." Like, no. I have absolutely no doubt as to who the brat in this family is. It's clear they're miserable, but what can you do? The only thing you can do is be the briefest voice of encouragement, not dissenting enough to piss the parents off, but kind enough to make the kid think that maybe they aren't the most awful, unlikable, sad sack in the whole wide world. Oh no, most kids are afraid of the machine. It's no problem at all. Honestly, he's far from the worst kid I've had just from today. "Hey kid, that thing you just told me about Fortnite was actually really awesome and not annoying at all. Tell me more about that." TL/DR. Not rude and not exactly bitter, but disillusioned in a way that pushes me to be kinder to people who don't experience much patience or compassion to begin with. Story 32. My experience with Costco made me bitter towards Costco. This employee working there is my soulmate, and we have telepathy. He told me to talk with him in the store. Then I was getting him lunches he told me to, Then he said they were getting concerned, so stop. I bought him tops. He wore them and showed me pictures. He told me it's not rejection, he's just being watched. Then one day, the stinky boss in Costco said I, customer, would be escorted out of Costco and it's my last day shopping there. I said I want to say bye to my soulmate, but they didn't let me and were all brainwashed and said I shouldn't talk to people in Costco. I said he told me to talk with him in the store and he was my friend. Then this stinky boss started abusing him physically and verbally repeatedly in the store, forcing him after work and telling him that not only her, but the other toxics would say he's the bad guy if he complains, but he kept telling them he loves me. Then his stinky toxic wide high him into more abuse, bringing more women over. He's almost divorced. Now the wife is turning his kids against him because he dislikes her for good reason. She's a manipulative user. Married, so what? I always know our connection. And he will get divorced. And the stinky boss in Costco calls me stinky ugly. Race inserted here. She has slept with her own boss, the meat management, the attorney. Yes, a toxic snake. She has also slept with meat manager's wife and my soulmate's wife. They hate me for no reason, kicked me out with lies, and got away with racism. That boss politically lies out of every situation. Oh yeah, they said I was harassing him, but they are harassing him and allowing white customers to harass him. I'm Italian. They are just confused. Story 33. I can 100% relate to what you're going through. I've worked in retail and customer-facing jobs, receptionist, bartender, server, cashier, ECT, since I was 16 years old. People always describe me as upbeat and very friendly and nice, sometimes a little too nice. I'm 27 now and I absolutely hate people. I don't think I come off as a Karen, but internally I'm so bitter and feel like I dislike people when I used to enjoy talking to strangers. I actually changed more during the COVID lockdown, but I was about to quit my waitressing, bartending job right before I got laid off because I was way too burnt out and starting to hate it in people. I also worked in a bougie restaurant, so the customers were extra picky and entitled sometimes. Then I picked up a teaching job and it was decent because I like teaching people how to ride horses, and the groups were no larger than 2/3 people. I took a year off work and focused on school and then picked up a receptionist job, and I definitely felt like I was low-key coming off like a Karen sometimes because the public interactions were stressful and my boss kept adding more responsibilities until I was basically their HR and photographer / social media person. So I was overall bitter at how much work I had and the people weren't helping. Then I got a job working with animals and it's been pretty great. I vowed to myself I wouldn't work another customer-facing job because I really did make me dislike strangers when I didn't before. I feel where you're coming from. It sucks, but working in jobs where I can do my own thing and not have to deal with rude people and try to keep a grin on my face has helped my mental health a ton. Story 34. I prefer retail over food industry. I worked at Taco Bell for 10 years and it made my anxiety and hate for the human race more than I thought possible. Retail can be more relaxed, where food industry is faster paced and more restrictions and rules, safety, keeping up with time, and making hungry, rude-ass people happy when they wouldn't know happy if you slapped them in the face with it. I can't handle a regular thief better than a cheap ass, coming in with a half-eaten burrito claiming it had this or that or they wanted this or that, but they got it at a different restaurant. But it was too far to go all the way back, so they're bringing it us, because we're closer. Like, dude, you've already eaten half. Just eat the rest in GTFO of my face because I don't make enough to deal with your lying-ass being. I got bigger issues in my life than your improperly made burrito that was probably perfect. But you decided you are full and want your money back because you got nothing better to do than harass people. Honestly, I will never go back to the food industry. Food has made me bitter, but doesn't help I have mental issues. I've had bosses ask me if I have Asperger's. Had one tell me I needed to control myself, was having a panic attack after some a-hole tried making fun of the way I counted his money back. And last time I worked at Taco Bell, I walked out after having a panic attack and cussed my manager out after she acted like it was okay for the other employees to treat me like an idiot who couldn't understand their passive jabs 2 feet away from me, but did nothing to make the situation better. Again. Story 35. I can't exactly say I was an overly happy person before I started retail. Long exposed, almost depression-like sadness does that to you. But I was never such a rude person until I started working in retail. I've caught myself being mean to my family members and those I care about. Not overly cruel, kind of mean, just, I don't know, not always nice. I think it's because I've been treated like crap by customers constantly since I started working when I was 18. And I think after a long period of time of being treated like crap, you just start giving back what you're receiving. Except instead of giving it back to the people that are treating you this way, you're doing it to the people that care about you and that you care about. I've even noticed how greatly different managers at my company who have been there for like 30 years act compared to those who've been there for 10 years or 5 or less. The ones who have been in it longer have this hardness about them. Some refuse to let retail change them, and others just let it consume them. I don't think it would be this bad if people treated us like humans and not their servants, which is why I think it should be mandatory that everyone has to work in retail and hospitality for at least 6 months each. Because if this entitled attitude continues, it's only going to hurt more people. Story 36. My biggest issue with the customers is how lazy they are. Oh, thank you. You brought me a cart full of items you didn't want. They had no problem getting the items, put them back, stop leaving the water in the bathroom when we're running Karens. You're not too clean to turn off the faucet. They don't flush. They come to the store to poop constantly, which is weird to me. Leaving their garbage in the store because we don't have garbages all throughout? How about don't bring in your garbage to begin with? If you take it off the 3rd shelf, put it back on the 3rd shelf, not the ground or the 5th shelf. Leaving the carts in the parking spots. It's become too common thinking for them. It's hundreds of people all coming in and essentially trashing it. I'm super lazy, yet I still pick up what I mess up because I'm not a garbage person like them. They think we need the job security, letting their kids throw toys all over and then just leaving them on the floor. The underwear and winter hats aisle, every single item on the floor. How does that even happen? I can't even imagine going into a store and just throwing the item to the ground when I'm done. I can't even fathom acting that way. Story 37. I work in a seriously specialized sort of retail/production that now has very few of them left. Photo lab. We are the only ones left for hundreds of miles. I am the main printer as well as everything else. It's Christmas, so custom Christmas cards, photos for gifts, medals, canvases, ornaments, lots of things to do right now. Younger, new coworker who doesn't write due times on anything comes up to me while I have almost 100 orders I'm working my way through and says, "Do you have these gestures to a particular order done? It's supposed to be done." I go, "No, it's not done." He says, "Well, it was supposed to be done. Can you do it now?" "No, you guys keep putting crap on my desk and everyone wants it now." It's an open area. Customers looking at me. Guy whose order it was sees me. He says, "She looks like she spits venom all day." I do not. I am a relatively nice person. If you're nice and want something quick for any reasonable reason or even admit you screwed up in our last minute, I will go above and beyond for you. But I absolutely hate people. Didn't used to be that way. I also just don't enjoy Christmas like I used to. Years of doing this has made me this way. Story 38. I get it. I've worked retail and sales for years, and especially during the holidays, it has a way of making you hate people. They get so rude and demanding and disrespectful, but then they want you to do what they want after they just talked down to you or yelled at you for something they purchased and didn't like, as if it's your fault for it. I am a natural salesperson, though, and I keep getting back in the industry, and I'm a people person when it is on my terms, and they are not being rude. The trick is to only be in a place that involves something that you have a passion for or truly like. I love the beauty industry, and when I couldn't work with the service side of the industry, I sold hair products and makeup, so I had a connection to what I sold, and it helped make it feel less like work. Because when the customer was asking about a product, I was interested in it. So I advised them with a positive attitude, and then it helped make the job not be so job-like. Now I sell something with home decor, but there's a part of my job I get to be creative and design and pick colors to go together, so I find that fulfilling and it makes the boring part easier to deal with. Story 39. Yes, kind of. In the beginning I was bitter because I was young and all I was met with was rude customers. But over the years, I became civil. If they were nice to me, I was nice to them. They were rude to me. I returned the energy. I am not a pushover, but not also rude. Since leaving retail, I went into fast food. Fast food made me semi-less bitter, but it also annoyed me. There were moments that angered me, but by then I learned to not take my troubles home with me. I left fast food for a retirement home. This made me more humbled than ever. Old people who are being treated like crap, and all you can do is try to accommodate them with food and keep an eye on them. It helped me, but it also helped me to put down boundaries. Unfortunately, this job and this place sucked. I'm back in retail, and I don't hate life. I enjoy my job mainly because I work by myself and my own boss, and occasionally have to step on register. But even when rude people come across, I just blow it over now. I'm not bitter anymore. I just try to see where they're coming from. Story 40. Retail and service work will do that to you. I worked both for the first 3 years of my work experience. I have no good advice. I used to have a great fake happy customer service attitude, but by the end of my service retail career, it was nearly impossible to do without cracking character. I moved to factory work, which is its own duck show, but at least I don't deal with random rude holes. I've got a handful of managers and coworkers, but the majority I'm buddy with. Without them, I'd have already changed jobs. My best advice is focusing on the smallest of wins and positive interaction. Although service, retail workers experience some of the worst of humanity, you do still have moments of positivity. They'll never know, but some of the people during my service/retail years have shaped my life for the better and given me some fond memories I will never forget. I still recommend a different career, assuming you know of one that you would prefer. But focusing on the small wins will help tremendously. Story 41. Yup, 5 years at Walmart, 5 at Target, 1 at American Eagle. The holidays give me PTSD. Being in a crowded store triggers my anxiety and even panic attacks. I used to be a fun and free person. I had no issue being around people, and I was always bubbly and optimistic. I've been able to get away from retail for nearly 3 years not, but I still find myself having a hard time being around people. I'm much more bitter and jaded than I was. I'm getting better, but retail and just dealing with hatefulness, rudeness, entitlement, and busting my ass to make a living just so a shareholder gets rich or broke me. The holidays are always the hardest because that's when people were the meanest. I never got to spend time with family or friends. I'd barely make any money. I was always scheduled sporadic and inconsistent hours. And by the time the holidays were over, I would go into hiding for several months. Last year, it got so bad I couldn't leave my apartment. Retail is soul-sucking. Story 42. Yep, my years in retail absolutely ruined me for being nice to people who don't deserve it. I kind of hate that I'm so jaded, but it's a result of being screamed at and treated like crap by people who don't know the first thing about me. I'll certainly be kind to people I've never met before if they meet me with the same kindness, but I'm not about to just swallow disrespect and pretend like someone's condescending attitude towards me is okay. In a way, retail has kind of made me stronger, gave me a backbone where I didn't have one before. I have a thicker skin now, even though some things still upset me. I learned 2 things in retail: how to treat people and how to stand up for myself. I'm grateful for those 2 things, even if it wasn't very pleasant to learn them. And I've had amazing bosses for the most part who always backed me up when people were mean. That definitely made a huge difference. Story 43. More so food and beverage, but I've lost all concept of caring when it comes to jobs. I've hit a point where I no longer give notice if I'm gonna quit. I just do. I've walked out on a job a couple times and no call, no showed at a couple. I hit a point where I realized I'm undervalued and underappreciated. Even as one of the more valuable employees, cross-trained in every position, and almost always willing to cover basically any shift, but they refused to ever give me my time off requests. If I had a family or personal emergency, they didn't care and still would tell me to come in. I would literally be throwing up in the bathroom, and a manager would come into the bathroom and tell me to check on my tables and tell me I couldn't leave. The lifestyle has definitely made me a little more cynical towards people. I finally left it and started my own business this year. Story 44. You seriously need to look for a different type of employment. Seriously. I get it, retail does change a person, especially when you deal with people who are angry with you, and it may be something beyond your control or job responsibilities to correct. I also understand it may not be easy to just get another job, but I think maybe try because you need to be kind to yourself before you can be kind again to yourself. I started in retail when I was 15 and then moved into the medical field. I wasn't working in 2015 when my son, Zach, forever 27, passed away, and after a while, my doctor said maybe going back to work would help me. It didn't work. Even though it wasn't regular retail, it was just too hard. Story 45. Working retail is a noble and important profession and filled by kids/students who just want a wage whilst they move on to other things. As a result, it seems many don't take it seriously and so upset customers. Many young people now have very little common sense nor resilience. They cry at hard work and any form of challenge. On the other hand, those not in the service industry yet still have the same level of entitlement, without earning anything in life, yet think everyone owes them respect, are happy to be rude, and arrogant to servers. Anyone rude to anyone working in the serving industry is a truly horrible person. I have watched as a customer and often intervened when people, including colleagues, are rude to staff. It's disgusting and should never be tolerated. It's an honorable profession that deserves respect and appreciation at all times. Story 46. I worked at Target late 80s to early 90s. I have so many stories of horrible people I had to deal with. This was in Iowa. One story of a lady coming in Christmas Eve day wanting snow boots. Up north, you better get your snow boots early fall when they come out. We were completely out of snow boots. She said, and I quote, "Look here, you fat Karen, go in the back and bring out the snow boots." So off I go to the shoe stock room. All I see are boxes and boxes of sandals. I hung out there for about 10 minutes and went back out and told her there were no snow boots. She went to the front to talk to a manager. He told her that we hadn't had those since Halloween. It changed the way I treat retail and service workers. I have nothing but respect for them. Sometimes, treating someone with kindness can change their whole outlook. More people should try it. Story 47. Let's do a little math. If you use your debit card and average 3 times a day, that's over 1,000 times a year. I've had a debit card since 1999, and I'm not some kind of special exception. It's safe to say that a lot of people have used those debit cards at least 20,000 times, if not then thousands of times to be sure. Yet, 70% of them will stare at the debit card reader like it's the first time they have ever used a card or pushed a button. When they can't figure it out, it will be all your fault for not helping, not doing it for them, or God forbid, actually trying to help. It will still be your fault. These people put you in a no-win situation by simply being alive and stupid. You should be courteous because they are keeping you employed, but you can still wish natural selection will happen to these people and be polite. Story 48. Piss poor planning on your part doesn't not constitute an emergency on my end. Shopping during lunch, coming in at last minute, trying to buy everything the day for an install, trying to remodel a whole room before the holidays, not calling in to verify we have product when you live 20 plus minutes away, not calling in to verify that your order is ahead, etc. Shopping for holiday decor at the last minute and expecting to have a full inventory of product. I'm all for helping out and doing the right thing, but I've gotten a thicker skin now and just don't put up with the bullcrap anymore. I'm here to get what you want, check you out, and move on, not to become best friends. I don't need a lifelong story or some BS story to try and convince me so you can get a discount or have me guarantee. Story 49. I think this also has to do with using up our social batteries. I work in food service, hospitality, and I have to say that I never feel genuine when I'm being positive or happy anymore. I've had to be on for service so much for so long when I'm off work that enthusiasm just feels like a mask I put on to please other people, but it's bled over into parts of my life that used to make me feel real excitement and joy. Hanging with friends feels like a chore, similar to directing customers how to check out or where certain food specials are in the dining room. Most of the time, I just want to not be around people at all. I try not to let on how I feel when I'm hanging with my friends, but they have pointed out my low mood and lack of enthusiasm for things I would normally be over the moon for Story 50. This happens to anyone who must frequently interact with the public, not just retail. If you serve the public abuses you. Anywhere from 50 to 75% of the people I serve on a daily basis are rude, selfish, entitled, disrespectful, and hostile within varying degrees of severity. People seem to feel entitled to abuse anyone in a position of service. It's a disgusting and pitifully common character failing. We are all capable of choosing not to be a holes to other people. Instead of spreading the stupidity and aholery we receive in public service around to others, let's choose to have the behavior stop with us. The more people who resolve to behave decently to others, the less we will have to become bitter and enraged by the petty abuses of the world. Story 51. When I started working at Walmart, I was a cashier. I was calmer and tried to be friendly. I went the extra mile for customers. I would help customers more than needed just for them to act rude, entitled, and lack the understanding of a dung beetle. I am constantly on defense now. After dealing with pervert coworkers, ex-friends, with barely any help from the managers, and the stupidest crap and lack of understanding coming from managers' mouths and them letting customers talk to me like I'm worth less than a rock, I really kind of hate retail from the ground up and don't trust anyone from customers to coworkers. Home office doesn't do much either. Always with the see your manager, when the people bothering you are buddies with management. Story 52. I've worked retail for a long time and was almost always bitter. It definitely brings out the worst in you. I worked mostly for small businesses, which isn't as bad because I had a lot of freedom. But my last retail manager job messed up my personality. I was working for Joann Fabrics and Crafts, a failing corporation that never allows enough payroll to fully staff the stores. My boss was a bully and my assistant manager was the most negative person I've ever met. I started lying to customers and generally just didn't care after the first year. I certainly do not have the patience I did when I worked for small businesses. And after leaving such a soul-crushing job, I feel like I'm more judgmental at other jobs and extremely impatient. Story 53. Working retail got me twisted. Working in retail clothing. I was alone on the registers when that happens. You take a customer from the purchase line and one from return. My coworker came back, so I asked her to take the return, which made the next purchase customer enraged, apparently. So in my head, I thought, you want to play a game. Twisted, I know. I may have accidentally forgotten to sign in twice to my register, then rang her up and threw her clothes in the bag. She then became incensed again and gave me tone asking if I was going to fold them. I ever so politely said store policy, and in training, we are not to fold the clothes. Total truth, by the way. So she stood there and folded them. Story 54. My husband worked in customer relations for a major Southern California theme park. Basically, people would go there, then go home, decide they had a terrible time, and then call my husband's department to tell them all about it. He stopped working there right before COVID. because thankfully they put everyone on hiatus. It's been like 4 years now, and let's just say we don't own a single thing with a mouse on it. Still, and anything even related to that company causes grumpy noises and a whatever. Working with the public can be an absolute soul crusher. He had to get therapy and anti-anxiety meds to cope with the aftermath. I thankfully did not have this experience working retail for years. What did it to me was teaching Story 55. I worked in retail management for 19 years. I've always been a people person. But with that being said, after so many years of being yelled at, being treated like things going on in the world was our fault, I'm not that social butterfly anymore. It was really bad after COVID hit. Retail workers take a lot of abuse. People don't stop and think that prices and the way things get done are coming from a much higher pay grade of people that sit in a corp office that work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And the retail workers are out there putting in a lot of hours, taking verbal abuse, and missing out on family time. Be nice to your retail workers. They don't make the prices or rules for the way they have to get things done. Story 56. Honestly, yes and no. I knew people can be a holes or downright stupid, but the frequent occurrence of it was something new for me. I do, however, try not to let it affect me badly. I mostly see two types of people, happy people and angry, bitter people. Some people respond through life with positivity and resilience. Others allow the darkness and gloom to consume them. There is a choice we must all make. Obviously, people have their bad days. Perhaps the person yelling at me just had someone close to them die. I can always tell the difference between someone who is just a plain old a-hole versus someone who is stressed and tired. Bottom line is to not let the bitter bad people ruin your spirit. Story 57. Only after the pandemic. My attitude changed with customers' craftiness. Been in retail since 2005. Of course had normal crafty customers, but never this frequent. Why should I be a nice person when grown-ass human beings can't be nice people? I've actually thought about anger management. I get so angry. Though maybe I'm just hungry or under-caffeinated. Nope, just an angry Karen. I can't get a job where I deal with less people because I dropped out of college, and putting things on shelf is all my brain knows anymore. God knows I've applied to hundreds of jobs and was basically laughed out of the few interviews I've actually gotten. I'm so sick of this crap. Story 58. 20 years in various retail positions has left a mark. I have seen and be subjected to some of the worst behavior. I would love to say it is rare, but it's not. The nicest little church ladies can spit pea soup and curse a blue streak at you. I have been cursed out, assaulted, threatened, had to call police to remove customers, and really believe there are a ton of entitled a-holes out there. People who have never worked retail have zero clue how any of it works, but will demand the world from retail workers. The one thing I will say is I do not put up with people being crafty to retail employees in my presence. I will stand up to a fellow customer for that employee. Story 59. It definitely changed the way I thought about people before. Before, I thought everyone deserved a level of kindness and that people are more logical and reasonable. But people are kind of dumb and really believe they deserve to be worshipped. I worked at McDonald's and grocery stores, and the way people treat others is wild. There are people really out there that don't seem to understand that the service workers are human and are not devoid of thoughts and feeling. They have families and friends just like you, but they don't care. It's like students that don't realize that teachers don't live at the school. But do they care? Oh, they want their McNuggets now. Story 60. I have a blunt personality as it is, so retail and food service were not the jobs I was shown in. Although I did learn to be a bit more diplomatic in my responses while working those jobs, being aware that normal responses to me can sound rude to others. It does make you feel much more on guard and defensive. But I hit a point in customer service where I realized that it ultimately is up to me if I let crappy people change my mood or the way I interact with others. Misery loves company, and I refuse to let somebody drag me down with them. Besides, being nice to someone who wants you to get offended is literally the funniest and best thing to do to them. Story 61. Opposite for me. I'm a manager at a grocery store, so I get to deal with organized retail theft and bloodbaths in the bathroom from unattended homeless, thousands in theft every day, yet I stay optimistic. I've learned to keep everyone at an arm's distance, but I still give everyone the benefit of the doubt until I'm given reason not to answer your question. No. If anything, it's taught me how to counter the rude and bitter people to make them smile. I love being in an environment where so many people need help, and it's my job to do just that. And it gives me a chance to make someone's day just a little better with a positive experience. Story 62. It's a fine art being able to tell someone to go duck themselves without having to say it and being professional. I was a customer service manager for quite a while. I was always called over for difficult people. At the same time, though, sometimes making them smile and laugh is all you need. I kept a jumbo pen, ridiculously large, for these situations. They would sign the refund receipt, and every single time, it changed the whole attitude. I have noticed a shift in customer service requirements since COVID. It's almost non-existent. At least in grocery stores I have worked for previously and frequent. Super weird. Everyone seems pissed off. Story 63. It's the nature of the job. I've seen what you describe happen to so many people time and time again. It's a soul-sucking job that sucks your personality dry and turns you into a bitter robot. Most only last 5 to 10 years in this line of work. I'm on 15 years and quitting after I'm done with my BA degree. I'm not happy, I'm miserable. I can't keep faking a smile or positive attitude at work. Been only offered 3 roles in this line of work and can't keep faking it anymore. I only stay because it's about 20% higher in pay than most other jobs in my area. Union rights and protection. The job keeps going when society fails. Story 64. I had to get out of retail. It was soul-sucking. I had someone jump in front of me when I tried to enter the bathroom and block the door. The customer told me to hold it until I waited on them. So I did and proceeded to have silent but deadly farts on them the entire time. They said, "I am good. You can go to the bathroom now." I said, no, I will hold it until you have everything you need. And I continued to drop the nasty farts I have ever had on them. I could tell by the look on their face that they could smell them. And that was only one thing that happened that customers did to me. Story 65. I've worked retail and now in the medical field, I come into contact with many people. Knowing myself and that whatever a person is going through, no matter how rude, inconsiderate, or hateful, OT has nothing to do with me. Customers are no different than people I work with. You can't change them, but I can change how I react to them. I can stay quiet or I can leave, depending on the circumstances. When I find myself getting frustrated, I take a step back, calm down, and proceed on. I refuse to let the negativity of another affect me. Bad things can happen, and I do not want to end up in prison. Story 66. I would say it didn't change my initial politeness, but made me far less willing to put up with crap from anyone. You learn that people are unreasonable, and who is wasting your time, I will say. After working in both retail/medical, that I have zero patience now when people throw a fit over something outside of my control and shut that down fast. Now, mostly it's early 20s men who treat the ER like an urgent care and go for every minor thing. Then throw a fit when they get the bill, come back, and scream about how dare we charge them when we did nothing for them. Story 67. Customer service is the worst. The other day I had a conversation with a customer for 5 minutes about a sale that was 2 for $6. It was a digital coupon, so one item rang up as $2 and the other at $4. I told him it was still $6, but he kept saying he disagreed. We have teenage cashiers too. One employee quit after having the same customer throw pennies at her on 2 different occasions. As if screaming it wasn't bad enough, they literally threw things at her. Management does not protect their people well at a lot of places. Story 68. Yes, retail/CS tends to wear on you. There's a lot of expected emotional labor, and most are already depleted from life and being underpaid. Then after COVID, people got a lot more demanding and mean. I believe part of that is from lockdown. A lot of us lost social skills, but in all, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm rude from it. Although I did get out last year after 12 years or so in various roles. But I'm a lot less tolerant of other people/customers when I'm out, especially if I see them being nasty to a worker that I know can't say anything. Story 69. The general public are a holes and drain the goodness out of nice, happy retail workers. I had to leave my job last year after all the abuse from customers while working in a pharmacy during COVID. It was painful. I already had fragile enough mental health. I've worked in retail for nearly 20 years, but those couple of years really took their toll on me. I'm in a nicer pharmacy now, but still get the odd, I think everyone should have to work retail at some point as it would open up people's eyes and they may be nicer to staff. Story 70. I have lost so much hope in people because of retail. I don't trust people like I used to, and I also don't let people make me feel bad. If they try to make me feel bad because I can't return something or something about a policy we have, I'll tell them I don't care. This is our policy. I've had way too many people lie to my face and try to manipulate my emotions. I'm a ducking robot at work about policy now. Also, like, you're a grown-ass adult having a temper tantrum that I told you no. Act like a toddler, get treated like a toddler. Story 71. It's literally customers now. People are so rude, aggressive, and at the same time, general stupid and dumb as a damn brick. Literally, Christmas Day, and we encountered the rudest asshats. In turn, it made my employees bitter and snarky, and they started complaining. Heck, we had a guy banging on the window after close, with a sign literally that he's banging on that says, "We closed." Dealing with that every day, yeah, it's gonna be everywhere too. Oh, don't shop there, they're so rude, tit for tat. Get what you give. Story 72. It's because working in retail, you realize how much of society doesn't have basic manners. If they are in a store and looking for something, they just scream it. Hardly anyone says, "Excuse me, I'm looking for XYZ." That's what drove me crazy in retail. Pre-COVID, the lack of the personal space, amount of times customers have reached over me to grab something, Amount of times customers come in coughing up a storm without covering their mouths. I don't think it's so much retail versus the people who come in through those doors. Story 73. Only during the holidays, not at all apologetic at my age, when folks cease to be human, and stores are overcrowded for deals, making you feel like the hapless postmaster in The Grinch. Politeness goes only so far as the lines back up, and they're scrambling to open more checkout lanes, praying the systems don't crash, especially from all the gift card purchases. Crazy nuts. I'm generally friendly, but also have my limits and barely smile as the 100th customer checks out before it's finally time to check out. Story 74. I worked customer service of some sort since I was 12. I'm 47. Nothing is more stressful than working in customer service. But I did realize that they customers, while annoying at the moment, aren't nearly as frustrating and upsetting as the coworkers and owners you see every day. The customers come and go, and if they aren't happy, you will likely never see or hear from them again. But the people you work with are going to be back over and over whole. Everything builds up until you go off on them. Or you quit. Story 75. Oh, hell yes. I did at least 5 years in retail and one at a call center for catalog orders. I am bitter and can be rude as hell when customers get me on a bad day. I don't work in retail/customer service anymore. Haven't since 2012. I get stupid people hounding me when I'm shopping after work. Exactly what part of what I'm wearing makes you think I work here? And why do you think I'm going to help you when you see my resting Karen face? That should be making you decide against speaking to me.